天天在一起，天天用心听，听见台北的声音。FM 93.1，幸福永远属于你。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
当家？我当家？你当家？我当家？到底谁当家？你来当家。
To Residence Messenger with your host, Ross Darrell Feingold on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Today, our very special guest is Wenyi Chen Wen, who is the director of the Enterprise Florida office here in Taipei. Before we talk about anything else, Wenyi, am I supposed to call you like ambassador of Florida to Taiwan, or representative? How do you like to describe your job?
Just call me Wenyi. That's fine enough. Or even call my name, Chinese name, Wen. It's okay.
Okay. Which part of Taiwan did you grow up?
I was grew up in Kaohsiung.
Okay. Now, when you were a child in Kaohsiung, I'm sure it wasn't your dream to represent the state of Florida. I'm sure you'd never imagine you'd grow up to be representing and helping Florida companies in Taiwan. What did you want to do when you were growing up?
Well, to tell you the truth, I want to be a housewife.
A lot of my guests say that. Yes. You're not the first.
Yes, that's my dream, become a good housewife, get a good steady job, and we call it golden job, to working for Taiwan government at that time.
Well, now you're working for another government, but it happens to be the state of Florida. But you grew up in Kaohsiung, and then you went to university, also in southern Taiwan, in Tainan at National Cheng University. Right. I find that very interesting, because when I think of universities in Florida, I think of those mega big schools like Florida State and University of Florida, University of Miami. Schools are known for basketball or football, tens of thousands of students. What was it like go to National Cheng University in Tainan when you went there?
As a matter of fact, National Cheng University is an engineering school, and most of the students are male. So that time we have a ratio, like a ratio comparing the female and the male, the girl and the boy. Is 7-1. So 7 boys, 7 male, there's 1 female student. So to me, because my high school is also a co-ed school, so I'm pretty much very familiar with the whole environment. So, and plus, my father, my uncle, they all went to the Cheng Kung University. And it's close to Kaohsiung, so I feel like very okay for me at that time. So, and Cheng Kung Daxue right now is quite famous, because I believe a lot of business owners in Taiwan, especially those in high-tech area, are from Cheng Kung University.
Yeah, and speaking of famous, you went to a very famous school for graduate school known as MIT. I think most people would have heard of it. Other than it being a great school, was there some other motivation? Why, for example, did you want to be in the Boston area?
No.
Well, basically,
very honestly, because at that time I was my major's in transportation. So, of course, I applied school, university, or graduate school that do have those sectors, and MIT is one of them. And so that's why I was there, and gladly, MIT. I'm made in Taiwan, and I went to MIT, so that's I think it's a very good perfect fit. That's my introduction, at the first day of school to the class. I say I'm a MIT square. because I made in Taiwan and it came to MIT.
So you're actually the person who came up with the MIT Made in Taiwan slogan. It's you.
No.
You deserve the credit for that.
No, I'm not that great, but made in Taiwan.
What did you like about living in Boston?
Well, Boston is a college town.
Yeah.
Charles River, Cambridge, and when we were there, since it's expensive, so we live like the most of the Taiwanese student there. We save money. We work very hard. It's the first foreign city that I went. So it's a mixture of pleasure and pain, basically. Study is pain, but to know United States, Boston is a great place.
Well, certainly it was one of the most important places in the founding of America, right?
That's right, New England area.
Yeah,
so I
Boston Tea Party, yeah.
Yeah, and I learned from 4 seasons, summer, winter, autumn, spring.
You said Boston was kind of like the first foreign city that you lived in. And then later on, you went to work for the state of Florida. But I'm really curious, when you were growing up in Kaohsiung or going to school in Tainan, what did you know about Florida?
Well, that time, really not much, other than they do have a Disney World and a Sunshine State for retirement. Old people, at least at that time, it's a retirement state. So that's my impression back then. So.
Yeah, oranges, Disney World, old people.
Disney with the young people, but retirement for the old people because the sunshine.
Yeah, actually, my grandparents from New York City area, they retired to Florida, southern Florida, near Miami area. So.
Right, because the temperature is better.
Yeah. Speaking of old folks in a more serious situation, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 because for a long time, the situation was pretty good in Florida. Recently, not so good. But when you talk to your colleagues in the Florida government, just like on an individual basis, not like official speak, but what do they tell you about like the day-to-day situation for them in Florida?
Well, they are pretty unhappy, honestly, with the governor.
Well, let's not get into the politics.
Sorry, they're pretty unhappy about they don't enforce enough about wearing mask.
You mean like in the office or outside, restaurant, shopping?
Whole Florida is they don't. I don't think they impose that at all.
Yeah.
So they stay home, work from home for more than half a year, 8 months or something like that. Even till now, I think they still take turns to go to the office. So changed quite a lot.
Has that slowed down the work that comes out of Florida for what you do? Because usually you're helping Florida companies access Taiwan, find business opportunities in Taiwan. Did the phone stop ringing for you because of COVID-19?
No. As a matter of fact, on the contrary, the phone is ringing off the hook.
Oh, good for you. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, but it's a day and night. So right now I saw like a 7-Eleven. They call in the middle of the night. I still need to work. So the reason why, because before a lot of events you need to have a physical presence, but now no. Everybody use virtual. Everybody use online. So they find it very convenient. So Zoom meeting here, WebEx there. So we have more business compared to the pandemic. I mean, before the pandemic.
Is it easy for the Taiwan companies, though, to do the Zoom meetings? Or are they comfortable with that?
They're comfortable.
Yeah?
Everybody get used to it already.
And what did you tell your colleagues in Florida about the COVID-19 situation here in Taipei or Taiwan?
6 months ago, I was so proud. 6 months ago, maybe? Yep. I was so proud, and everybody said, oh, such a nice place. You can still go out eating, having fun, singing, karaoke, working. But now, they don't ask, I don't answer. So very dramatic change for the past 3 months.
Was there any COVID-19 specific interaction between Taiwan and Florida that you could tell us about? For example, did one side donate PPE or medical equipment to the other, or does Taiwan sell PPE to Florida? Tell us a little bit about kind of like the business or donation or any interaction between the two sides.
Yes, I believe Military of Foreign Affairs, they have a program called Taiwan Can Help. So they donated about 100,000 masks to the state, and we do appreciate it. State really appreciate it. And since the COVID, the mask become such a hot items, and Taiwan manufacturers are very, very great in terms of manufacturing, production. So they have a lot of inquiries for the mask. However, I found out most of the Taiwan company didn't get their certification. So it's hard for U.S., if you want to enter into U.S. market, you need to have certain certification approved. Otherwise, you can only sell small amount. You can't really go into a big hospital, medical entity. So you need to have your certification done. And they want to get it done right now. It's going to be very hard because everybody line up. FDA, EUA. So a lot of things that you never predict what will happen, but whatever the certification they invest in advance, now they get the fruit out of it.
Speaking of can't predict, I'll borrow your words that you just used. Let's go back to years ago when you were first approached to do this job for the state of Florida. When someone contacted you and said, Ms. Chen, I have a great opportunity for you. What was your reaction, when somebody asked you if you'd be interested in being the representative for Florida in Taiwan?
Okay. I myself didn't know the representative, what's the job involved. But since the Florida want to change their industry from agricultural to aerospace to military, and I was in that industry that time. So when the MOFA and the aerospace committee sort of recommend me to talk to them, and when I talked to them, since that was the industry I'm in, so we sort of talk, and I think there's something I can do. It's what I'm doing. I was doing at that time. So I accepted. If where other states wanted to do something different, to sell agricultural product, I may not be able to undertake that.
So back then, if state contacted you and said, we want you to help us sell potatoes or somebody, you would have said no.
Yeah, I would have think about it, really. So
the main motivation for you to get into it was a good fit with some of your professional experience. But it didn't exactly turn out that way. I mean, you're involved in helping all sorts of companies in different industries.
That's right. I started from that aerospace military, but once you work for each state, you are the salesperson for that state. So whatever industry come to our office, Florida companies, we will have to accommodate that. So the industry is so interesting. You can from selling a goldfish or trying to find alligator or gator or eggs up to satellites. So the diversity or the range is every day is interesting. So I find it very nice.
How do you expand trade between a state and Taiwan? I mean, did you launch some initiatives over the years? For example, was 10 years ago buy Florida satellites, and then the next year you change it to buy Florida something else? Did you have like specific initiatives that you helped launch to?
Okay, that will follow the state. We will have to follow the direction of the headquarters. Once they decided the industry that the state want to focus, they will put a lot of resources into it, and we will sort of flow that resources, and then we will change what we are trying to promote. For instance, right now, robotic, AI, and bioscience, life science are what the industry trend. So we are justifying our state policy, also the direction. So we will change according to what state set in terms of the industry we like to promote.
Did they ever call you up or tell you, like, this year we're going to focus on some industry, and you thought, like, you guys got to be kidding? No, no one in Taiwan is going to be interested in this.
Yes.
Give us some examples.
Semiconductor. Perfect example.
They kind of know what a semiconductor is here in Taiwan.
Yeah, they try to promote because that's the strength of Taiwan, right? So they would think, that, okay, semiconductor is a huge investment. We wanted to focus on that. That was about 10 years ago. But semiconductor is huge. You need the whole clusters. But I don't think Florida is equipped with that. So I told them it's going to be a tough. Okay, so just honestly, we will arrange company to visit, to present our incentive. But I know it's not going to fly. So semiconductor is one good example.
Is there an industry that you thought, when like headquarters said we want to promote an industry, is there something where your initial reaction was, that's going to be a tough one? But then it turned out that there were Taiwan companies who were really interested in buying or investing with Florida.
Yes, there are some. We have a company who are in sewing machine. They do have a good market, and they do branch out in U.S. That's for Taiwan. But Florida, before, we don't really promote florist. Okay, but Florida is a big base for the distribution for that. So, but basically, yes and no. Only the semiconductor will be the case that's really surprised me, and I know it's not going to be very successful.
Give us some examples of products that are exported from Florida to Taiwan, besides the obvious one like oranges, but or orange juice. What are some of the more obvious, the bigger sellers from Florida into Taiwan?
Aircraft parts, military parts, and also some life science, medical raw material, blood cells. Those are increasing quite a bit, and also medical devices, and that's another items that's increasing the sales at the present time.
Well, why are these specific products increasing within the most recent few years? It's not only related to COVID, right? It's market you've been developing, or Florida just does it really well, or they do it cheaper. Why are some of these products?
The military parts supply, that's one of the major strengths of Florida, because most of the major military companies has their presence, and the aerospace, that's where it boils down to. But for the life science part right now is getting more and more. So that's one part that's increasing, and so aerospace is always strong in terms of exporting to Taiwan. Agricultural, the juice, the Tropicana, they're big enough, but Florida doesn't have enough to supply because the weather and disease, and so that's not a strong suit right now for Florida.
Which part of Florida is the life science clustered in?
Orlando.
Yeah, so for companies in Taiwan that want to do business with Florida's life science, they got to go to Orlando. They could bring the family to Disney World while they're talking business.
We have the whole package. We have an area called Lake Ona, and it's close to Disney. It's a sort of like a bioscience biopark. So major medical pharmaceutical companies are already in there. So if they wanted to go to U.S. and expand, Orlando is a great place. Mixed business and pleasure. You have your family there. We provide the whole community provide from your living, you know. So that's a good place to expand the company to.
Great. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about business between Florida and Taiwan. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station.
如有长照服务需求、长照特别扣除额问题，请拨打1966长照专线，5分钟内通话免付费。一通电话让长期照顾管理专员协助申请长期照顾服务及解答长期照顾特别扣除额相关问题。以上内容由台北市政府卫生局提供。
爸爸应酬不开车，黄色嘟嘟安全多。应酬喝酒不过量，安全回家最上道。爸爸要平安回家哦。
喝酒不开车，开车不喝酒哦。让我们一起尊重生命，拥抱亲情。
亲爱的朋友，您还在吸烟吗？快拿着健保卡到戒烟门诊，或拨打戒烟专线0800636363。 提醒您，最近兴起的电子烟、加热烟，因为没有浓浓的烟臭味，就被认为无害。其实已经证实，新兴烟品都有二手烟及三手烟的危害，甚至还有爆炸的风险。我是义工蔡依林，所有烟品都 get out。我拒烟，我骄傲。
家己电台吼，家己主持咧。大家好，我是郭文铁，我伫台北广播电台。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？我当家。你当家？我当家。
我当家。
到底谁当家？你来当家。
Welcome back to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Our guest today is Wenyi Chen Zuo-Wen from the Florida office, Enterprise Florida. Wenyi helps Florida companies access Taiwan. During the break, Wenyi, you were sharing with us one of the more unique exports from Florida that might be available here in Taiwan, which is crocodile...
gator.
Gator, okay, gator food. Not like made out of gator meat.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you tried it yourself?
Yes.
Gator. What's it taste like?
It's just like a jerky.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, but it's a gator jerky.
Made out of gator, and,
yes.
and they're not protected. Right?
They're not protected
so,
right
so
now.
You could feel like you're not harming anything by eating the gators.
No, not at all. But interesting, Gatorade is also from Florida.
But it's not. There are no gator. It's not. It doesn't have gator juice in it, right?
No, there's not. But we have a very famous brand, which is Gatorade, is sports drinks, mm-hmm. and it was a research program from University of Florida, I think. Mm-hmm. And then they tried to commercialize. Nobody want to take it. And then this university went ahead, commercialized themselves. Now become the biggest brand of the university. And Gator, give you a quick quiz. What's the difference between crocodile and gator?
They both look equally scary to me.
Yes. One is the long, what do you call, nose, mm-hmm. and the other one is square, short.
But you want to stay away from both of them, correct?
Yes, we have to, especially playing golf.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when my grandparents, when they retired to Florida in one of those retirement communities, and lived next to a golf course, and every once in a while there'd be an alligator or a crocodile would just come climbing out of the water, and they were all older folks. It's a little hard for them to run away from an angry gator.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, this is not something that are only in like remote or in the Everglades. They're right there where people live.
Correct. So it has to be very careful about it because they do eat people.
They do eat
kids.
Let's not think
about it. We don't want to.
But have you, during your business trips to Florida, did you ever happen to bump into one?
I went to the gator farm, mm-hmm. and gator did the zoo.
Well, that's different.
That's different.
But when you were golfing or at a resort or
no, I'm not that lucky yet. No.
You talked a little bit about the life science as one area for Taiwan companies to look at for cooperation or investment into Florida. What are some other areas, industries that Taiwan companies might consider looking at in Florida?
Okay, if they would like to expand to Latin America, mm-hmm. Southern America, mm-hmm. and Europe. Mm-hmm. Florida, especially Miami, is a perfect hub to South America because most of the big buyers, the boss will always has a residence in Miami.
So you're saying if you want to sell something to Argentina or Brazil, yes. You don't need to necessarily have an office there or go there for business trips. You could just be in Miami and they'll come to see you.
Correct. Miami, especially our headquarters, the Enterprise Florida, has a big sales force. to promote Florida product to Europe, to Southern America. Yes.
See, I thought you were going to say an important reason to be in Florida is because former President Trump now lives there, and he's generally considered a good friend of Taiwan. So if you want to meet Trump, you should also put your business in Florida. No?
Well,
can you arrange that? By the way, you arrange meetings with him.
We can go to where he lives, that little island. So maybe, but. Our governor right now, DeSantis, also is a Republican, so he's very Trump.
Very good friends with Trump for now. We'll see if they run against each other though in 2024.
We could arrange to visit the current governor.
But you said also Europe. Why? For Taiwan companies who need to sell more to Europe, why is Miami a good place to have an office?
Well, from Miami, flight to Europe is a lot closer than Taiwan. Flying the other way, and plus the European companies has a lot of presence in Florida, so that's one of the strengths. So you can have two markets, Southern America and Europe, and the
United States as well, of course.
Yeah, United States and the East Coast, the southern part of the East Coast, so southern part of the United States.
Yeah, that actually brings me to a very, very important question. What's the best way to fly from Taipei to the business hubs in Florida? I mean, if people need to get to Orlando or Miami from Taipei after COVID, I guess, for an important business meeting,
okay,
what's the efficient way to get there?
For myself, I fly to Texas, and then from Texas, I fly to Miami or Orlando. But most of the people have friends, they would like to visit West Coast. So they can stop by San Francisco, LA, and then go to Florida. Also, you can fly direct to New York and then fly down to Florida.
I don't know if you'd want to do that in the winter, though, because you might get a snow delay in New York, right?
Right, especially right now, the Ida.
Yeah, now it's a
totally
hurricane.
Close. The hurricane, the past 12 hours is devastating.
Well, Taiwan is known for its typhoons, and Florida is known for its hurricanes. Have you ever been there? Were you ever there in Florida on a business trip when a big hurricane hit?
No, I'm lucky.
Yeah, you are lucky.
Very lucky. And then one time I was joking, I was kidding that Florida is competing with Taiwan. Whenever Taiwan has the number of typhoon, Florida maybe has the numbers of a hurricane. So that was.
Yeah. Although we've been pretty fortunate this year in Taiwan. Not too many bad typhoons this year.
Right, but we need water.
Yeah, well,
we need rain.
it's always a balance. But back to the flights. Is there ever potential to have a direct flight, or the markets are not?
We tried to. We did.
From which city?
From Taipei directly to Miami. Okay.
And what you don't have to tell us which airlines were involved, but it probably aren't many choices. We could figure it out. But help us understand, for non-experts, why it didn't proceed. What were the real specifics? Is it the cost of the fuel, the number of passengers, the slots at the airport? What are the issues?
Not the numbers of the returning passenger. Not the other way around. Flying from Asia to Florida is okay because they can cover VIP, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Taiwan all the way. So passaging going to Florida is okay.
It's there was enough demand to justify
enough in that. But the return flight, they just don't have it because people landed at Miami, landed at Orlando, they go to New York, and they go to somewhere else. So the return flight so the cost is not justified. So it didn't go through.
Do you think this will ever change in the future, or not looking so good?
I would not think so. I do not think so.
Or you're gonna have to tell the governor about that. To try and persuade him.
If he wants the truth, I would tell him the truth.
But what about tourism? And look, Florida is kind of far away, and you have to change aircraft at least once. Is there a lot of tourism from Taiwan to Florida?
Not compared to the rest of the country, like of course China. No, not that many, because it's too far away. But cruise, they do have some. So, and also during the summertime, And a lot of students will go there for Disney World, and or even go to sports camp. Okay, so there's some.
So people will fly from Taiwan to Florida just to take a cruise around
Yes.
the Caribbean or across the Atlantic? Which kind of cruises?
Well, there's a cruise to the South America. There's a lot of them. To Cuba, especially, now open up. So Cuba is a big attraction. And also go to some other islands, St. Lucia, around that area. So there's a demand for that.
You mentioned universities. Tell us a little bit about whether or not there's good demand out of Taiwan or a lot of interest in studying at some of those great universities in Florida.
Okay. Education is not one of our promoting, not one of my mission, but I know FIU, Florida International University, they specialize in hospitality. So the graduates, the student in Taiwan who went to FIU, there are quite a lot of them, especially now they are major management position in some hotels in the F&B business. And also a University of Florida, Gainesville, they have cooperation program with Taiwan University in weather and water resources. So they do have some cooperation program between Florida University. And one of the university I would like to promote is Embry-Riddle. It's the only aerospace school, very famous one. And very hard to get in, but it's very unique. We tried once to find a sister school in Taiwan with them. Somehow, I guess because the political reason, they didn't. They went to Singapore instead.
But yeah, I've actually met pilots who fly for Changrong or Huahang who got their pilot's education at Embry-Riddle's.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it is quite well known here in Florida. Tell us about those sports camps you mentioned, though. So if parents in Florida want their child to be the next great tennis or golf athlete, they could go off to Florida for a summer.
Yes.
And come back as a superstar.
Maybe. Well, for camp, we do have a lot of sports camp for high school and university or Miami. They work with a company called IMG, I think. It's primarily an agent for a lot of famous sports stars. So tennis, and also our baseball players, they train there. Tennis players, golf players, Miami Heat, and because the weather there is just very suitable for the sports camp. So that's one of the major sector for our organization, domestic. So
yeah, I mean, kids, teenagers, they shouldn't go to like those math camps, right? They should go to a sports camp in Florida.
Camp. Yeah, you can also learn English. You know, they do have English, and then mix. It's a good combination.
Even though we have the COVID-related challenges, are there any upcoming programs or things you're promoting or invest in Florida kind of events, trade shows? Tell us a bit about some of the near-term promotion you're doing for Florida or Florida companies.
Right now, due to the COVID, everything will be online. So the latest one we're going to attend will be Taiwan BioAsia show. That the Florida, one of the life sciences are a major sector, so we're going to attend that in Taiwan, BioAsia, and also U.S. Business Day, and we will also do online virtual events. That's a big event, and we're going to promote that.
What would you have done differently if those events were in person? For example, if the life science event trade show was in person, what would you be doing? You'd be standing in a booth, handing out information about Florida?
Yes, that's exactly right. I will be there, and then company will come. They want to understand what kind of investment environment, or market. Actually, they always want to know the market first, and which is reasonable. No market, no investment.
So no market. If there's no market, it doesn't matter what the tax incentives are or things like that. Free land doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to make any sense. So they will always ask the market, and then we'll evaluate a product, give them some advice, and then if they are interested in pursue further, we'll write down their company name, contact, and then we'll do follow-on to do that.
So how are you going to do that differently when it's on? Switch to an online presentation?
Well, there's an old Chinese saying, 见面三分情. Through a screen or through Zoom or through, you always, it's an image. It's not a personal touch. There's no heat. So, of course, that the young people may not know that, but once you're in business, you see the person, and it makes a lot of difference. But still, right now, because the pandemic, we can only go online. So the difference will be phone call or at the booth and talk to the person, face to face. So that's something that everybody need to adjust accordingly because the pandemic. And I'm really afraid I will really distance the relationship between people and people, which is no good.
So then do you wind up going, because you could still meet people in person here in Taipei, so you're having to go meet more companies in person to talk about Florida?
Yes. And I like to visit them, especially those small business in Taiwan. They work so hard. The southern part of Taiwan, middle part of Taiwan, you go to the factory, you learn something of what they're doing. And one common problem that Taiwan company has is they really don't invest in marketing. They're really good at manufacturing, very good this, but they just don't want to spend marketing, which you cannot see the results right away. Yeah. But no marketing, it's hard, So that's one drawback or one disadvantage of the Taiwan company has. So,
and when you go to visit these companies in Taiwan, do you bring them a little Florida gift, like a orange keychain or something from Florida?
A pen.
You bring them a Florida pen?
Maybe a little flag. Yeah, that's right. So,
President Tsai visited Miami in 2016. I'm pretty sure there was a political element. She wasn't there for the beaches, right? She was stopping over as part of her trip to the Caribbean. What did that do for Florida's image in Taiwan?
Honestly?
Yeah. We want you to be honest, Wendy, of course.
I don't think there's a big, because her trip will be confidential. So whatever the arrangement will be done through MOFA and the embassy or the office.
But once you got there, they had like a big dinner, right? Lots of media coverage.
Very exclusive. They are afraid there's many media exposure that they cannot control. But to meet with the local Taiwanese business people, that's for sure, for sure. And to promote, I think it's better for our governor to come to Taiwan and visit and promote Florida. I think that will be.
That will get a lot of attention for sure if you actually
comes.
Has a governor ever come here while you've had this job?
No.
Okay, so we're hoping that there'll be a first Florida governor visit to Taiwan. If you were asked to plan a visit and to achieve the business purpose and the political purpose, and to get proper rest, because it's a long trip, how many days or nights, realistically, would you tell them, look, if you want to promote Florida, you want to go meet some companies, photo opportunity with presidents, how long would a governor have to stay here in Taiwan?
Well, so far, due to restriction, about 2 days.
In and out, 2 days, it's enough time?
48 hours.
You could get everything done?
We can't go visit each company, but we will have some investment event to invite potential company that are interested, and then do a presentation and do a meeting, and then will be my job to do follow-up. So that will probably...
Okay. So Governor DeSantis, if you're listening to the show, then hopefully you could just, make a few days. 2 days is enough.
2 days, good.
Come to...
if you want to stay longer, 3 days, fine. 5 days, fine. Take a good look at Taiwan.
Of course, when any American governor, when they make that kind of trip, they're going to go to several countries around the region, whether they're going to South America or Europe or Asia. Other than Taiwan, which countries in Asia are really important for Florida companies, like as an export destination?
Japan.
Is it a similar product mix, like military and aircraft, or is it something else?
They're in automobile. Most of them are automobile, and now AI, robotic.
So Japan buys a lot from Florida.
Yes, there's a lot of dialogue and investment from Japan to Florida. And also Canada is a big one, but Asia, Japan still is the biggest partner.
I can imagine that the executives of the Japanese companies, they're always telling their bosses, we need to go to Florida. We need to, because maybe they want to golf as well. They're not just talk business.
Yes, they have a Japantown there and Chinatown. They do.
In which cities?
Orlando.
Okay.
And pretty big. Japanese presence in Florida are quite sizable. So.
Yeah, I've had some friends here in Taipei who've represented different states, American states, and also friends who represent different countries or regions of countries in Taiwan. And sometimes they have stories about strange phone calls or emails or people who walk into their office here in Taipei because they expect that a person like you who's representing the state could create some kind of amazing opportunity or miracle for them. So I'm sure you have some unusual stories. People in Taiwan called you up and said, I want to sell something to Florida. Can you help me? Or does Florida make something? So share with us some of the more unusual requests from the Taiwan side or experiences you've had.
Most unusual one, even though it's not what we are supposed to do, is Florida... Chinese, Taiwanese like to invest in real estate. So back in 10, 15 years ago, there's a lot of real estate has a sales office in Taiwan. So a lot of people, a lot of investors bought those land. And one lady walked into the office and bring me a tax notice because that land she hasn't taken care of for a long time. So
she bought it, but she didn't really pay attention to paperwork, letters from government agencies.
So she owes a lot of tax.
Back tax bill.
Back tax. Yeah. So she said, what am I going to do? I want to go travel to United States. Am I going to get arrested at the airport? And what should I do now? And I said, okay, let me take a look at it and then give you some direction what to do. And no, they will not arrest you when you landed in United States. No, so that's it happened quite often. People has a real estate or a house in U.S. and then they wanted to pay tax and they have some problem with it.
Yeah.
And one time a company come here and say, Florida company owes me money. What should I do? Can you go to your office and then see what they can do for us?
What, they think you're going to call the Florida company?
And say, pay you. I said, what happened? He said, oh, they are, I shouldn't say that, right? I shouldn't say that up here. They have a buyer from South America. And they just don't pay. And they take all the product that they deliver and ship it to the South America.
And everyone disappears.
No, they're still there.
Okay.
They have opened up a store, opened up a shop with all the Taiwanese product in there. They can't do anything about it because you just can't.
Yeah, but it's not the job
it's
of
not my job to do that.
To resolve business disputes between people in Taiwan
not capable.
And companies in Florida. We're almost out of time, Wendy. But before we go, anything else you'd like to tell us about Florida? One final thought you want to leave the audience about doing business in Florida?
Okay, Florida is even though it's far away, but it's a very friendly state. Plus, right now, they like Taiwanese. They have a lot of support from our office. So Taiwan right now is getting more and more important to the state. And I myself like to help company handheld them because they are into a new state, new country. So if anyone or anybody has a question regarding to go to Florida, not only Florida, even to United States, and you have some question, you can come to our office, and I will try my best to assist you. Visit.
And the website for Enterprise Florida, what is it?
It's enterpriseflorida.com. That's it.
And they could find information about your office in
Yes,
Taipei?
you can find the international office, and there's a contact over there. So you can contact me.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you so much. I won't call you ambassador, but I'll just call you the director of Enterprise Florida here in Taipei.
Yes.
You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station with our guest, Wenyi Chen from Enterprise Florida. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ross, for having me.